this is Doxy Mom, and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't done so already, I'd greatly appreciate if you hit that little red subscribe button. You can ring the bell for notifications, and if you like this video, just give it a thumbs up. Well, Miss Cindy and I, we've got lots of news to get to, so let's get to it today. Now, here's some good news from the Daily Wire. The latest data shows that the state of Washington, the first state to be hit hard by the virus, is flattening the curve. The rate of infection is slowing, hospitalization is dropping, and the number of deaths per day has already peaked and begun to drop off. Thank you, Jesus. Now, the virus has been battled so successfully that a huge Army field hospital built by hundreds of troops inside a Seattle Convention Center last week will be dismantled after never having treated a single patient. Now, the Washington Democrat Governor Jay Inslee said that at this point, their hospital should have enough capacity to support a surge in patients. The decision to dismantle the hospital came a few days after state officials returned more than 400 ventilators to the federal government. Now, President Trump has repeatedly said that governors are overestimating their need for ventilators, but the mainstream media has ridiculed him for this stance, and of course they have. That's all the mainstream media is good for, is bashing our president. And I'll leave a link. Now, Candace Owens, she tweeted this out. In light of the discovery that Governor Ned Lamont counted an infant suffocation towards his state's coronavirus death total, I'm calling President Trump to issue an audit on all death certificates related to COVID-19. State health departments are not medical examiners. In tweet. And you know what? President Trump should do that, because here's another story about how the CDC is manipulating the COVID-19 death numbers. A Montana-based physician has blown the whistle on how the CDC is padding the numbers of deaths and manipulating death certificates. She's been signing death certificates for over 30 years, and she says that before COVID-19, death certificates were based on assumptions and educated guesses that go unquestioned. But the CDC counts both true COVID-19 cases and speculative guesses of COVID-19. They call it death by COVID-19, whether it is or it isn't. How many people have actually died from coronavirus is anybody's guess, but based on how many death certificates, how many death certificates are being filled out, you can be certain the number is substantially lower than what we are being told. Now, earlier, the CDC was caught covering up a contamination of its lab when health officials who paid a flying visit were blocked entry into the lab. The matter is now under investigation, and I will leave a link. Now, I had a friend who has a friend, and he was in a motorcycle accident. They took him to the hospital. He had to be put on a ventilator. Unfortunately, this man did pass away, and guess what they put as the cause of death on the death certificate? Of course, COVID-19. So don't believe the numbers, guys. They're padding them to scare you, and I will leave a link. Now, I want to read to you a True Pundit article. There's a 3-hour podcast that goes along with the bottom, but I'm just going to hit the highlights of this article, and then I will tell you I'll do a breakdown of the podcast. It's entitled Exclusive Top Feds, Not a Coronavirus That Came from a Bat, Something Much Worse. Top law enforcement brass in the United States are throwing gasoline on the coronavirus fire, saying the Bureau and law enforcement agencies have developed intelligence that counters the official narrative that COVID-19 originated from a bat, as widely reported by just about every media and government outlet from here to Beijing. In fact, the contagion that has locked down the United States might not even be a coronavirus, as detailed by top federal insiders on the Thomas Paine podcast. This might be a key reason why the best medical professionals in the world are struggling to treat and remedy what has been reported as a virus using treatment guidelines established for coronaviruses. What is it then? This could be something much worse, and they may have been treating really the wrong strain or thing, a top federal official told Payne. The question: how do top FBI and intel officials know more than what we're being told by the White House, the CDC, and politicians? And did anyone let the medical doctors know they should be treating patients for a likely pathogen, not a coronavirus? Now, what I got out of this 3-hour podcast is that allegedly Bill Gates and other social globalists created a mystery virus in a lab, and they created a vaccine for this mystery virus. They released it in certain parts of the world, and in Thomas's opinion, it was so bad they had to shut down the country. Now, I believe that they thought this virus would be much more deadly than it ended up being. They didn't realize that we were going to come up with the hydroxychloroquine and the Z-Pack with the zinc sulfate so quickly. Now, unfortunately, this virus is highly contagious. People have died from it, especially elderly people that have underlying health conditions. So it's going to be interesting to see if Bill Gates comes up with a vaccine quickly. Because, guys, this is war. The deep state's panicking, so they released a biochemical agent to try to take down President Trump and depopulate the world. And so far, they have failed. God is in control. God wins, but we must continue to pray for President Trump and his family, for 17 and the team, for our military and their families, and all those who are fighting to keep our country and our world safe. Now, the Daily Wire, they're reporting something we all knew, but is now declassified. The disclosures were made in response to Chuck Grassley and Rob Johnson's repeatedly demanding that the redacted footnotes from Inspector General Horitz's report be made public. So Comey's team that was investigating Trump in 2016 received Russian disinformation in the dossier, and Comey's FBI did not include the information in its FISA application to the court to surveil the Trump campaign. Now, Grassley and Johnson said in a joint statement, for years, the public was fed a healthy diet of leaks, innuendo, and false information to imply that President Trump and his campaign were part of a Russian conspiracy to spread disinformation. The FBI's blind pursuit of the investigation, despite exculpatory and contradictory information, only legitimized the narrative. The mounting evidence undercutting this narrative should have stopped the investigation early in its tracks. Instead, it took several years and millions in taxpayer dollars to conclude that the allegations were baseless, end quote. Now, they go on to say that if the FBI leadership, Comey and McCabe, Strzok, and Page, had heeded the numerous warnings of Russian disinformation, everyone would have been better off. The country wouldn't be as divided. The FBI's reputation wouldn't be in shambles. They end up by saying that it's ironic that the Russian collusion narrative was fatally flawed because of Russian disinformation. These footnotes confirm that there was a direct Russian disinformation campaign in 2016, and there were ties between Russian intelligence and a presidential campaign. The Clinton campaign, not Trump's. Can you say boom? And I'll leave a link. Now, Deanna Lorraine tweeted this out. Fauci's now saying that had President Trump listened to the medical experts earlier, he could have saved more lives. Fauci was telling people on February 29th that there was nothing to worry about and it posed no threat to the United States public at large. Time to fire Fauci. Well, President Trump retweeted Deanna's tweet saying, sorry, fake news, it's all on tape. I banned China long before people spoke up. Thank you at OANN. So, President Trump, he retweeted that. Isn't that interesting? Now, President Trump, he also retweeted a One America News tweet that says, report, FBI hid details of Papadopoulos investigation from the FISA court. And there's a video attached that says a newly released transcript is suggesting further errors in the FBI's investigation into the 2016 Trump campaign. Papadopoulos has told people that he was set up, and it's all going to come out, and like 17 says, FISA brings down the house. And I'll link my Twitter page. I'm going to leave you with Philippians chapter 2, verses 12 through 15 that say this. Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purpose. Do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. Well, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, this is Doxy Mom, and God bless you all.